Welcome to News with a View, a Fat Cat production, hosted by me, John A. Costa, an expert on nothing, but I do have some great opinions and insight. A lot of people disagree with that. A lot of people would be right. But, well, whatever. We shall see. We shall see by the end of this podcast. Today is August 14th, 2025. This is episode 116. Today, I'm going to try to keep it short. It's thundering out there. I expect a brouhaha when my granddaughter comes home. So who knows what's in store. Dozens arrested in D.C. violent crime crackdown. This is after President Trump sent in the National Guard. We'll have a nice little story on that. The Trump administration wins a huge appeal. Democratic cowardly legislators who ran to Illinois when they abandoned and quit their jobs, a judge ruled in Illinois that they can't send Texas State Police to make an arrest, nor will Illinois facilitate an arrest. So I kind of knew that would happen. Then we go to ex-FBI Director Comey. In a lot of trouble, folks. A lot of trouble. So we'll get into that. All right. Just days after President Trump sent in the National Guard into Washington, D.C., where he has the right to do that, but really only in Washington, D.C. can he directly force in National Guard. Because, remember, yesterday I discussed the Passe Committee's Act. So, well, it's already paying dividends. Hundreds of Metropolitan Police Department officers and National Guard members made 45 arrests on Wednesday night. Now, the National Guard really can't arrest, but they can detain and then hand over to local authorities. There are rules when the National Guard can make arrests, but I don't think in this case, that they could actually do it. But of the 45 arrested, 29 were illegal immigrants who are now in detention. Now, many of these illegals had already had final orders of removal because they did not comply with going to their hearings and stuff. So that's an automatic, you get nothing, boom, you're locked up, and the next flight out, you could be out. So, 29 of the 45, which makes about 60%, give or take, have been removed, taken off the street. Now, whether or not they were just picked up in a sweep, or whether or not they were criminals selling drugs, speeding, whatever they were doing, I don't know. So I can't say that, hey, we caught them robbing someone or they did something like that. But even if not, they are criminals. Benny had the final order for removal. And, to be fair to President Biden, his administration, I think, had 1.6 million people on a list to be removed. But where the difference then laid was the police did not have to inform ICE that they had these people. You know, why have departments like that if you're not going to enforce the law? And if you're not going to enforce the law, why do you have the law? Go and change it. Well, they can't, and they know it. Just because you don't enforce a law doesn't mean that that law is not valid, folks. So, 45 individuals have been charged with this. Of the 45, there was an individual, 45 individuals have been charged with assault on federal officers, fugitive apprehensions, possession of child sex, abuse material, and illegal firearms, along with drug trafficking and an assault on an officer with a Subway sandwich. What is that, assault with a deli weapon? I don't know. You know. Some deli food I can't eat anymore. So, yeah, could be an assault. But that individual, seen or Sean, S-E-A-N, however you want to do it, Charles Dunn, was berating a group of federal agents late Sunday when a viral video online as the White House ramped up a surge in law enforcement patrols in Washington this week. Dunn was arrested after on an assault charge after he threw a Subway-style sandwich at customers and border protection agents, a court filing said. Now, what's interesting about Mr. Dunn and the alleged incident, he was an international affairs specialist in the Justice Department's criminal division. Now, I'm sure this was another DEI hire, alleged. According to department officials who spoke on conditions of anonymity in regards with the discussion of personal matters with the Department of Justice. So the fruits of President Trump's issuing the order to send the troops in and take back the streets is already paying off dividends. I am sure that there are going to be incidences where bad things are going to happen. Bad things are going to happen because of bad people. And, you know, you're having people arrested that shouldn't be having guns. Convicted felons, like in Cincinnati, Mr. Mayweather was, and that's the Cincinnati beatdown that everything happened, and he has been additionally charged with weapons possession by a felon. That's a biggie. And my probably little insight is that he's going to have the maximum tossed at him. There was another person who was arrested there that was a mental patient that should never have been out. Who knows why, but, you know, they shouldn't be on the street. Well, I'm getting off topic. But with this new policing action, I'm sure there'll be appeals to court saying that you can't set up roadblocks and you can't, with the intent of, you know, where the other side will go. And they got a point. You know, there are your papers. And I can understand that. You know, and I said I am a reasonable person. I will look at both sides. And both sides have meat to bite into on this matter. It's how far can the police go? How far can the federal government go to stop you or detain you? And what type of ID is acceptable to the police? Again, I have not been stopped, but maybe I will be stopped. And they might look at me and go, oh, Costa, well, that could be Spanish. And where do you live? You know, you got, ID, boom, boom. You know, how long you been in America? I believe that, life starts at conception. So I'm going to say somewhere in February, March of a particular year. I'm not telling you how old I am. But this is the question that is a legitimate question being asked by people on the other side. When I say other side, a Democrat, a leftist, a Republican. I'm a Republican. I'm asking that question. What is acceptable ID? Must I carry my passport with me? Because that was never required before. Now I have real ID for my driver's license, so I can get on an airplane. Is that good enough? So there are a lot of questions I have on what can be asked of you. Normally, in the past, you were required to give to the police, in most cases, your pedigreed information. When I say pedigreed, your name, address, maybe your social security number, date of birth, and that's about it. That's about as far as they can go in asking you, who you are. And then that must be validated with an ID, and then they can check it out. And if you don't have an ID, they might check it out anyway and say, yeah, okay, this guy knows enough about whoever he's talking about that he's probably that person. But they don't necessarily have to do that. Now, the police can detain you on the side of the road. I would say normally only between 15 and 20 minutes before they have to actually, cite you with a violation. Now, I would not get out of my vehicle and walk up to the patrol car and go, hey, come on, time's a wasting here. Give me the ticket or let me go. Now, if the police walk over to my car, I might say that to them. I wouldn't. I mean, it's just not practical. Because most of the time, you're not being charged with a true crime. You're charged with a violation of the driving code, a motor vehicle issue that is not criminal in nature. Though if you go like over 14 miles an hour of the posted speed limit, they could hold you in. That's reckless driving, and that notches up. So you got to be careful. You do not want to give the guy stopping you too much of a hard time. Or any hard time. I mean, anytime I've been stopped, except for one time, where I kind of said, hey, what are you stopping me for? I wasn't speeding. I know I wasn't speeding. I couldn't. It was through traffic cones. What are you stopping me for? And, then they have to tell you why they're stopping you. And then you make your decision at that point on exercising your rights of the Fourth Amendment and Fifth Amendment, which I advise anyone who is, and that's my advice. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not anything but some fat guy in front of a camera. But I advise anyone who's doing something they should not be doing. If that's to the point where you're going to get bracelets put on you, exercise your Fourth and Fifth Amendments. Give them the information that they require of you on the scene. Your name, boom, boom, everything complied, registration, insurance card, whatever is needed. And then after that, politely tell the officer, at this point, I'm exercising my Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights. Mostly if they put the bracelets on you. Now, sometimes they can put the bracelets on you before they charge you. If they feel that their safety might be compromised, they're out on a road by themselves, there's no backup coming, you're acting a little hinky, or they say you're acting a little hinky, for their safety and your safety. And when I say your safety, if you flung your arms, I didn't do it, and boom, boom, and this police officer, you're reaching around, you're pulling up your pants, he doesn't know what you're doing. And he might hurt you. Thinking that in that moment in time, I only have a split second to make a decision. Are you going to hurt me? Or are you just, flailing? So they might stun you. They might restrain you. They might shoot you. Depends on where you are and what the situation is. So only one time I had a police officer put the cuffs on me. And it was for a good reason. I had gone to a shooting range and I had left ammunition in the back of in the trunk. It wasn't with my weapon. I'd already put the weapon away. I forgot about the bag in the trunk of the car. And I went through a checkpoint in Manhattan and one of the sniffer dogs went nuts. And boom, they didn't know who I was other than, running my name. And they find 500 rounds of, AK-47, and it wasn't even American, I think it was Chinese rounds. And, and they said you're not under arrest because having bullets in your car is not a crime in Manhattan or anything. That's at the time it's not a crime. But they didn't know. Did I have something under the seat? Did I have something over here? Was it something they just missed in the cursory look through my window? And at that point, they said, I'm going to search your car. And they put the cuffs on me and had another policeman standing by me and a National Guardsman. And they went through the car, and I was very polite. I said, yeah, sure. You might find some French fries under the front seat, but that's about it. And they went through it, and they went and they checked, and they checked, and they checked, and they checked. And I was on that side of the road like that. To everyone going by me at 2 a.m. at the Midtown Tunnel, looking, what does that guy do? He's always in bracelets. They'll never take me. And they didn't let me go. They just told me I couldn't go through the tunnel. And I said, yeah, I'll go up to the 59th Street Bridge or something. I'll take that thing over. And then, yeah, make sure you don't do this again, Once bitten, twice shy. Don't worry about it. It won't happen again. And, Yeah, it didn't. But that's the only time. And everyone was polite and was civil, and no one was screaming, "How dare you, sir, you have insulted my integrity." No, it wasn't anything like that. And I didn't go nuts because I knew they weren't going to find anything. And they looked, believe me, they looked. They pulled the back seat up, and I go, "Oh, how do you do that?" Because I've been trying to. Is there a lever? And she showed me where the lever was. Yeah, oh, damn. And I was too lazy to look on YouTube at the time or whatever. And that goes that far back that maybe YouTube wasn't even, this was after 9/11. But I believe that in a lot of these cases where people are pulled over and they're actually checking your citizenship, that's something that we should be concerned about as citizens of the United States. That we should be concerned about that. It's how far can they go? What can they make me do or produce that under any other normal circumstance, I would never have to do that. So you understand, 100 miles from any border or any ocean, yeah, they can ask you for that stuff. And they don't even need a reason. They do not need a reason to stop you. And that's the Border Patrol. They do not need a reason. We do not need an excuse. We can just pull you over and ask. Look it up, folks. Don't trust me. Always verify. Always verify. Remember, some of you oldsters like me never trust anyone over 35. So, okay. This has been... Oh, look at that. Something happened here. Why didn't that... I didn't edit it. Must have hit it, but... I'm looking at my YouTube, make sure it's still going, make sure I'm still recording, not making any of my bonehead mistakes like I did in Master Control when I worked there. The second one, Trump administration wins a major appeal. And President Trump was handed another court victory on Wednesday morning after a federal appeals court ruled that his administration can stop making foreign aid payments. Hey, liberals hear that? That's a train leaving the station, never coming back. Wave bye-bye to it. At least during the Trump administration. So, U.S. Court of Appeals, District of Columbia Circuit issued a 2-1 decision lifting a lower court injunction that had required the Trump administration to restore foreign aid assistance payments previously approved by Congress. Now, this will also go into the appeals process. So, because what today's ruling really does, or that ruling does, and it might have been yesterday that they did it, Wednesday, allows the government to make it much more easier to refuse to spend money already in the budget, meaning that he can wind down a lot of this foreign aid stuff and fight and do clawback, or we used to call it reach back, but claw back that money back into the coffers. So that is a huge, huge win because it is so many moving parts to USAIDs and USAID and their phony baloney funding. And there was a lot of people in those organizations that it was being run by wives and brother-in-laws and things like that, and a lot of money going where it should not be going, and not being reconciled, not even being administered. So that's a good win for the Trump administration. One that I thought he handled incorrectly when he signed an executive order stopping it on the 20th of January. I thought he should have given 30 days notice of it stopping and make Congress go in and give him a huge win, and Congress goes back and grabs that money. It is the way it was supposed to work. Now, he gave the 30 days notice, it went through the court. So now the court say that all passed. Now he can go clawing and, he can get it back. He can stop it. Can't get it back. Once that money's released, that's it. It's never coming back. So, it isn't that the money's coming back, but no more of that pile of cash is being sucked out the window. And it's a huge win. Huge win. One of many that the Trump administration has been making. And I would say about 80% of the challenges made against the Trump administration was already vetted and he could do. And all the Democrats were doing was a stalling tactic. Put another roadblock in there. Just make it harder. Make it harder. Make it harder. Get in front of them. Slow them down. And Trump's blasting away. 7 months into an administration, he's moving. Moving faster than I thought he would be able to move. It doesn't mean that he's going to win, all his. There are certain things, like I said, that he wants to do that you just can't do it. You'd have to have Congress and go in, and then it'd have to go through a rigmarole for you to do that. But as it stands right now, like him wanting to move National Guard troops into different states. Yeah, the Passe Contemptuous Act really prevents him from doing that. I mean, it would have to be a class. It has to be something horrible where they'd give him X amount of days and then he'd have to ask Congress for authorization. In the District of Columbia, he's allowed to do that, but anywhere else, and even with that, he has to ask for a continuation and things. It's very complicated. You can't have federal troops or under the rule of the federal government forcing federal policy. No. That's separation. They were very well aware of that in 1878. So, but big decision. Trump wins a big one. Stop the spigot of money going out the door. All right. I was looking to see how far I was talking. All right. Illinois' judge will not allow arrest of the cowardly Democrats who are hiding out in that state. So, an Illinois judge has denied state authorities' request to arrest Texas House Democrats who fled to the Prairie State to break a quorum in a bid to block a redistricting bill that could give Republicans an additional 5 seats in the U.S. House of Representatives. So this is all about gerrymandering, or the, appearance of doing that. Usually these lines are set up after a census. But we know that the census was so maligned that you can't trust it. You just can't trust that census to say who gets federal money and who gets federal representation. And this is what this is about. This is about federal representation. This is for House seats inside Congress. Could be Senate seats inside the Congresses. So it is an important thing to know these lines. I never understood what those, the whole theory behind the lines and districts. But that's how Congress, picks this. There's only 2 senators from any state, no matter how big, no matter how small. 2 senators. In this case, though, the more people, the more senators. If they're spread out over a certain line. So either party, if they change that, can get more seats. That's the way it works. Didn't say it's fair. Didn't say it's accurate. Don't say it's right. But that's the way it works. And the Republicans control the Democratic legislature and can just steamroll this through. But they can't steamroll it without the Democrats sitting there, even though they'll say no, we're not going to do this. We vote no. If they're not there for a roll call vote, you can't continue. You have to have a quorum. You have to have that many legislators in the chamber to have a vote. And what they said is, well, if we're not in the chambers, we can't vote. Now, normally what would happen if they were inside Texas hiding out somewhere, they could send the state troopers with a civil warrant and drag them back. But since they fled the state, it's a civil warrant. It's not it's not an enforceable warrant where you can go into a police station and demand their arrest. Where you hold them, the police, you have the Illinois State Police then go find them, arrest them, or hold them, saying there's a outstanding warrant for your arrest in Texas, and we're going to call them to see if they want to come get you. Now, in the meantime, then you can go fight that extradition order, and you can go to a court and go, I don't want to go back. Nope, I don't want. But that's only in criminal, not in this case. It's not criminal for them to abandon their job. In essence, the way I look at it, you can't arrest them for quitting their job. I can't be arrested for quitting my job. I can't do it. Not showing up for my job, you, in essence, abandoned it, and job abandonment, that's reason you're gone. You're gone. Unexcused. You're not in a hospital. Your family's not sick. You're not stuck somewhere. You're not on vacation for 3 weeks, and they want you back, and I can't get back. Those are excusable reasons to miss a vote. Hiding and refusing to do your job, which you're elected for to do, it's not excusable, folks. Is it cowardly? I call it cowardly. But I call it worse. I call that malfeasance and dereliction and failure to carry out your oath of office. But all that leads up to, if you're not here for your job and you're sending in letters saying, no, I'm still here, but I'm not voting, I'm not coming back. No. Your job is to come into that legislator's building and make your voice heard. And if you won't do that, you're not doing your job. And if you refuse to do it, then you can be fired. Now, they're saying the only way you could remove them is by 2/3 voting and stuff. That's not true. That's if they're sitting in office. If they're outside the jurisdiction and refuse to come back, guess what? Guess what the Supreme Court's going to say? And the Supreme Court's going to say that he gave you notice. They said what they were going to do. They said this would happen, and yet you didn't come back. And you gave up your right. And then Governor Abbott can appoint people to fill those vacancies. Guess who's they're going to be? What a blunder by the Democrats. What a massive, massive blunder. Because the Republicans are going to get what they want there. And they're going to get even more. They're going to get the Democrats out without even having it to go to a vote. Whoever is advising the Democrats, stop listening to them. Stop. Do your job. Do what you were elected to do. And running off and hiding and not fulfilling your obligation is not doing your job. Sorry, it's not doing your job. And you should be fired. I can see it's justifiable. You abandon your job. You're no longer a legislator. You're gone. Judge Larson wrote in his ruling, as the petitioners had failed to present a legal basis for the court to obtain the subject matter jurisdiction over this cause of action, the court is without jurisdiction to grant petitioners emergency motion to rule on pleadings, Larson wrote in an order filled Wednesday. As the court does not find that it has subject matter jurisdiction, the court does not consider the issue of personal jurisdiction, venue, or the merits of the underlying petition for the rule to show cause of the request to issue a rule to show cause upon the respondents, meaning that's a civil matter in Texas. It has nothing to do with the laws of Illinois. And as such, we have no legal grounds to go in and arrest these people in your name, or to have your people come into this state and arrest them. Now, I might take certain exceptions to that. And I think the Supreme Court of the United States might be able to clarify that to a point. But I think that the chairman of the House Democrats in Texas, Gene Wu, is outlandish, foolish, and they're shooting themselves in their foot. So, Governor Abbott wrote back and on his X account or whatever, how embarrassing, Texas Democrats mailing in their demands from Chicago. You know, come back here and do it. And the demands by paper is meaningless. You're not there. You're supposed to be in that chamber, and you're not. And because you're not, you refuse to go into the chamber and do your job. You don't have a job anymore. And they're saying, no, the only way you can get rid of us is going through there. Not so quick. Not so quick. I think you're going to have a little rude awakening coming to you guys. Now, Comey's close friend, ex-media whisperer. I don't really know what that means, but that was in this article. And I think it might have been in The Hill that drew that up there, but can't remember if he leaked classified information to shape Russiagate narrative. Now, this guy is going to be in big, big, big trouble. Because all they really have to do, and he's a Columbia law professor. A Columbia law professor. Normally I scope this all out. Who knows that if you willfully try to mislead the FBI in an investigation, and an investigation, we're just asking questions. If you try to mislead them even in the questioning, you are in big, big trouble. And when he says, I don't remember, but I do remember talking to Michael Schmidt in particular of the New York Times. Now, since he said he spoke to Michael Schmidt in the New York Times, and the New York Times, Michael Schmidt, wrote a lot of these Russiagate articles. Now, Schmidt had information, and he was bouncing it off of Daniel Richman, who is being questioned. And what Daniel Richman is saying is that I can't remember if I confirmed or denied those informations when asked by Michael Schmidt. So what he is saying, he goes, and his memory is good enough to say that Michael Schmidt knew more about it than he did. And he had been given leaked information that he was supposed to plant out. And Richmond says, I'm pretty sure he did not confirm classified information. However, Richmond told the interviewing agents he was sure, with a discount, that he did not tell Schmidt about classified information. Richmond did not know who gave Schmidt the classified information. So, Richmond is now throwing Schmidt under the bus. Because now what has happened, the seal of not being able to, the news people don't have to release their sources, protected sources. But that veil has been lifted by Richmond and by Schmidt, who are now doing this. One of them is not being truthful. Or both of them are trying to mislead the FBI and Department of Justice. Well, First the FBI, because the FBI then takes that information, gives it to the Department of Justice, and lets the Department of Justice say whether or not it happens. So it's not the FBI that goes and, haha, and then drags it. It works the other way around. They give their information to the Department of Justice. They look at it, boom, boom, go back, ask a couple of these questions, boom, boom, come back. And then they make the decision. And Richmond goes, I don't know who gave him that information, but it didn't come from me. And Schmidt said he did not tell this guy anything about the information that he had. So these two guys are walking a fence. And now, where Comey is now involved is that why did this guy even know this information, and where did he get his information from? When he said he knew more about it than he did, that Schmidt knew more about what was going on than Richmond did. Why did Richmond know anything? And why would he discuss it with a newspaper? So these guys are in big trouble, and it all leads back to Comey. And what will happen? They'll tell these two guys, "Hey, listen, we're not after you unless we have to be after you." You guys are bigger fish, but we know there's a lot bigger fish in that pond, and we're not worried about a couple of 12-pound bluefish here. We're going after the whale. We want the whale. But if I have to use some bluefish for bait for sharks, because whales don't eat, they don't eat that. But if we have to go that way, we're going to become sharks, and sharks eat bluefish. And sharks can eat whales. And right now we're a shark and you're a bluefish. How do you think you end up? It's like the old joke. A lamb is hanging out with two wolves who are discussing what they're going to have for lunch. What do you think's going to happen here, folks? What do you think is going to happen? And there'll be a race on who turns on who first. Comey is in big trouble. Richmond is in big trouble. Schmidt, not so much, because he has the veil of being media that he can get some protection on. I don't have to name my sources, but the sources has already been named. I mean, he came out and he goes, that guy didn't give me, I never asked, I never told him. And Richmond's saying, well, I told him some stuff because he was telling me stuff. But I don't know if I gave anything away, because he knew more than I knew. What were you discussing? How do you know that he had that? How did you know that that he knew it? You didn't guess it, now you just confirmed it. And this is the problem. And this has been the whole problem with Schiff, with Nadler, with Pelosi, with Green, with Waters. The whole lot of them are dirty. Dirty. And they're going to get them. And how are they going to get them? And there are so many roads that these guys are going to be led down where they can mislead the FBI or mislead prosecutors and then be charged, and their pardon will not help them. And they go, well, we have the right to refuse. We're going to take the Fifth Amendment. You don't need the Fifth Amendment. Comey was given a pardon. He doesn't need the Fifth Amendment. There's nothing that he can be charged with. So your presumption that you could be incriminated by your own words can't happen. He will be compelled to testify. And the Supreme Court will rule that you have a pardon here. Anything you say up there in regards to this case, you cannot be held responsible. You cannot be tried for. But if you lie, and that will be the crux. He goes, well, that's why I don't want to. I don't know. Yeah. No. You're not going to have that. You must testify. If you don't, you're in contempt of court. You're protected. You could say, yeah, I leaked that information. I gave it to that guy who I told to give it to that guy. Hey, good luck, Daniel. I'm going home tonight. You could do that. Comey could do that. Schmidt can turn around and go, hey, I'm an investigative reporter under the media. If I can get someone to tell me something, I did not out Richmond. I didn't out him that we know of. So now it's a race, whoever can cut the best deal. And I hope they get Comey, CIA, people in Homeland Security, NSA. Not so sure with the NSA, but I got questions. I have questions, sir. So, this is going to be another just jump on the Comey. We got him. And Comey now doesn't know what they got and what they don't got. Maybe he goes there and goes, hey, listen, you guys can't touch me. But, I'm not going to talk to you no more. Because I don't have to. I have a pardon. And that pardon doesn't prevent them from asking him questions. The only thing that pardon does, protects him from the answers to the questions. So I'm hoping they get him. Comey was always dirty. Not a nice guy. Don't have to be a nice guy in those positions, but so. All right, with that, I'm going to say good night. Give to a charity if you can give. Charity does begin at home. Be careful that you don't become a victim helping victims. So know your charities. Give to a food bank. They need more than just food. They need products. They need soap. They need diapers. They need feminine products. They need razor blades. Every once in a while you see stuff on sale. Buy one, get one free. Boom, grab it. Grab it. And then haul it on over there. And if 2, 3, 500 people did that. They never did it before. It's that much going out to people who really do need it. Could be no fault of their own. Could be a fault of their own. Don't judge. They're hungry. They need help. A child didn't do anything wrong. Parents could be totally wrong. But the child didn't do anything wrong. Why are they suffering? Say a prayer. Prayer does work. It does. Hug people around you. Stay in contact. They can't always do it. Oh, boy, my family, boy. Phew. Say the one wrong word to them, and they're not talking to you for 6 months. But that's family. Everyone has family. So, but just remember, take a deep breath. It's hard. Take a deep breath, because there might come a time when one of you will not be taking that deep breath. All right. With that, I'm going to fade to black on my show and then come up with bars real quick on the YouTube and then end the video. All right, let's see how this works today, folks. Goodbye. And I'll have this up by 6 p.m. tonight.